Hi everybody, I'm Chelsea and I'm so grateful you chose to watch this video today. In today's video, I'm going to show you how I make a lace front wig and it's going to be beginner friendly. I'm going to show you step by step and include some helpful tips to make sure your wig comes out laid. I learned how to make wigs through watching different YouTube tutorials, but my favorite was done by Brilliant Beauty, so I'll leave hers in the description box. So what you're going to need is a wig cap. I'm using a dome cap, a curved needle, black thread, a pair of scissors, some T-pins, wig combs, a nude or white cosmetic pencil, and a wig head. And all this stuff can be found at your local beauty supply store, with the exception of this hair that I'm using. It's from Julia Hair and I have the Brazilian body wave in 16, 18, and 20 inches with a 14-inch closure. You can use the code chels for $8 off your order. This hair is already affordable and they're having a sale right now, so I'll leave the information in the description box. First, in the mirror, put the wig cap on your head, and I have my hair in straight back so that the cap and my wig lay flat. Place your closure where you want it to sit on your head and mark where it sits using the nude pencil. I do this one because I'm using a dome cap and there's no real guide for where the closure should sit, and then two, my wig head is styrofoam, so it's not the same size as my head and I want to make sure my wig fits well. Now place the wig cap onto your wig head and line up the closure with the outline of the nude pencil. Secure the closure with T-pins and then clip the hair out of the way. Then you want to thread your needle. Don't use too much thread because then it'll get tangled easily. It's better to just have multiple needles already threaded with about 1.5 feet of thread to work with. I make a knot at the end and then I double knot it over that knot to create a bigger knot so that the thread stops and doesn't pull all the way through the wig cap. Now sew down the edges of the closure. I'm going to sew down the back first, but I recommend sewing down the two sides first. And when you sew down the sides, sew it from the front to the back, because I sewed from the back to the front and my closure and my wig cap did not line up at the front, but I made it work. When I get to my stopping point at the edge of the closure, I just loop the thread, cut, and then tie a knot and cut the excess. And I'm going to show you guys how I did that little loop in more detail, but what it does is just secures the thread so that you can actually tie a knot to attach the closure to the wig cap. Once I have the closure sewed down, I can start sewing in the wefts, and I'm starting at the bottom with the 20-inch, then the 18-inch, then the 16-inch towards the very top. Measure out where you want the track to lay and then secure it with T-pins. This just helps the track stay in place while you sew. I'm sewing the first track close down to the edge of the wig cap by just taking the needle through the wig cap and around the weft, but not through it. The weft is the track that the hair is coming from. When working around the edge of the dome cap, only sew through one layer of the cap. The outer edge is elastic, so if you sew through both layers, the wig will have no stretch. At the end of where I want the track to lay, I will remove the T-pin and sew through the weft so that it secures to the cap. Loop the thread over the needle once or twice to create a secure knot and pull it through. Then I do it one more time because I'm paranoid about the track slipping, but the thread is stronger than you think, and I did the same exact thing at the beginning of where I started sewing down the track. Then I will flip the track over and pin down where I want my next row, and I'm spacing it about 1/2 inch apart because I have 3 bundles, and I kind of mapped it out before I started so I could know how far the tracks needed to be apart, but about 1/2 inch was good for 3 bundles. Then you just start sewing around the wefts again. And I started sewing overhand, but it's more comfortable for me to sew it underhand. So I just switched and it didn't mess me up. I'm going to do the same thing at the other end. Sew through the weft, then loop the thread over the needle to create a secure knot. And then you can proceed to flip your track over again a 1/2 inch apart and repeat. When your thread starts to get short and you're in the middle of the track, you just want to do the same thing. Sew through the weft and create a knot, but this time snip it like we did on the closure. Tie it in a simple 2-strand knot and snip again. Then you just start again with a newly threaded needle, sewing through the weft first a couple times to secure it, and then you just sew around the wefts. Once you're in the middle of the dome cap, you don't have to worry about only sewing through one layer, because there is only one layer, but once you get past that elastic barrier, make sure you only sew through the top layer. Around the front of the wig, I will measure and cut the wefts instead of folding so that the front of the wig isn't bulky. Secure it with T-pins and then cut the excess and sew it down. I just measured it out the way I thought it would fit best. So the next couple tracks, I didn't take it all the way to the edge of the dome cap because it was just too much space in the back to fill up. So I just wanted to fill that up first. So when I did take the tracks from end to end, it would just be more even. And as you can see, by doing that, I was able to have the same 1/2 inch spacing between the last track and the closure. Now pin the last track to the outer perimeter of the closure and sew them together. So this part, you're literally sewing the track to the closure to complete the wig. And it may be a little bit hard because you have to sew through only the top layer of the dome cap, through the closure, and the weft to secure it down on the edge when you start. But once you make it past the edge of the dome cap, it's easier because you're just sewing through the cap and the closure and then around the weft. Try not to catch the hair underneath the needle when you're sewing around the closure, just so that the closure area is seamless. Once I finish sewing them together, I'm going to secure it at the edge the same way, loop it around, cut, tie a knot, and cut the excess. You have to cut the dome cap material under where the closure is so that it will look like a real scalp and your scalp can show through. And this part was a little scary the first time I did it, but as long as you sewed everything together right, then it'll be so satisfying once you cut that final piece out and be left with an actual wig. I'm sewing in wig combs on the sides for more security, but the fit of the wig is fine without them. The dome cap is super stretchy, but I'm using the same technique I used to sew in the tracks, securing it first with a loop and then sewing around the band and securing it at the end. And this time when you're sewing, you're only sewing through the elastic layer, not the dome cap material over top. And as you can see, this is like my third outfit change of the video. It took me like 3 days to make this wig. So the last tip is to take your time, especially if you're a beginner. It's not as hard as you think, but you do need to take your time. I didn't end up using all the hair. This is about how much I had left, and that's how I made this wig. I did co-wash the hair after I made the wig using the As I Am coconut co-wash, and that left the hair super shiny and soft. The hair is very light and flowy, and I barely had any tangling. There was a little bit of shedding, but not excessive. So if you're interested, definitely check out Julia Hair. All the information will be in the description box. Use code chels for $8 off your order, and also check out the sale Julia Hair has going on right now. But thank you so much for watching. I really hope it was helpful, and I would definitely love your feedback in the comments, especially for beginners, if it actually made sense. Please share it if it did. Don't forget to subscribe and give me a thumbs up if you ended up liking the video, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.